All right, so let's talk about cutting things back as far as plants, because the customer's plants are important. We want to do the least amount of damage to a plant while still maintaining a safe work environment and a safe space, and while also not creating more work for ourselves. The thing with these things is we're painting this wall. So sure, right now it's this plant may not be hitting it, but when the wind hits this right, what's going to happen? It's going to go back and forth into our fresh painted product. And so not only have we cut the customer's plant back, but we've not allowed for the enough clearage or enough space in between to actually, stop our work from being ruined. So this would be a clear sign of this plant, this branch needing to be cut, this one, because we've already cut the customer's plant and it looks that much sloppier if we've left paint on the plant now, right? That's finding that happy medium, and I'll have Olivia follow me over and we'll show one that looks good cut. All right, so if you see here, this is an example of a area that's been prepped properly. So we've got the rock pulled back, we've got none of the branches being able to hit the wall that we're painting. We also have enough space to put a 6-foot ladder on the left and a 6-foot ladder on the right. We need to have a safe work environment, and then 2, make sure that the front of this customer's plant looks like it hasn't even been touched. All we've done is trim back the back side of this plant in order to get to the substrate we're painting. We also don't want to ruin their rocks, so we're pulling all this back, and we could even say there could be more that could be pulled back, because this right here is what you'll get otherwise. You're going to get paint on rocks and it's going to ruin the customer's landscaping. So here's an example. This was filled with our masonry sealer, our masonry patch. As you can see here, this is a very, very heavy line that we weren't able to actually get all the way back here. One, because we didn't have the plants cut back. We weren't able to see it at the point we were actually fixing these things. But 2, we didn't feather this out. So keeping our brush wet with water while doing this masonry is super important, because now we still have hairline cracks. We have a really thick edge here, and we weren't able to get back to here, but all because this plant was in the way. We weren't able to see the mistakes we were making. All right, as we can see here, we've got the trees cut back. We've got everything masked that needs to be masked by looking at the estimate and knowing what we're painting. Got all the windows masked. We got the stucco cracks fixed. All that's about there was a big crack. Now we can start getting ready to spray. Alright, so if you guys look around here, what we've done is we've sprayed and back rolled, leaving about 3 to 4 inches at the top of the body color. Doing the same thing with doors and with shutters. What we then end up doing, and we're in the process of doing, you can see here. So the reason we do the body first is we can get overspray on the soffits, right? It's much easier to cut vertically than it is to cut looking up over your head at something. So as we go through and spray now the soffits, we get just a small line. We'll use a smaller chip with less overspray. We'll just get a small line that we then have to come back and cut in. So we'll do the same thing with doors, trim. You walk over to this side with me. Just continue this side. Same thing with those. But as you step back here, I've actually started peeling some of the plastic off the windows because we sprayed the insides of those. And the other reason we do it this way is at the point I turn my gun up and spray this window, it's going to get on the soffit. Now at the point I spray the soffit, it's not going to get inside of here. And so that's the reason you always want to do the body first then the soffits, and just leave yourself just, I mean, you can look down the line. All we have to do now is cut this house in, and we've essentially painted this house in one day. You'll be able to see here we've got a fine finish 310 tip here, limiting the overspray. Obviously I don't want any on the rocks, and you know, when we get to places like here, I want a minimal amount of white on the actual body of the house itself. So you'll see I'll actually, you know, I'm getting a little bit more than I want to get overspray wise there, so I'll angle it up more. You can see, I mean, we can really limit it to a small line that we have to cut in. And then the other big thing is if you come back here and you kind of see these things that we fixed, I mean, it's very important that we now go through and spray them, because if I only spray it from this side, I'm never actually going to hit these things that we fixed here. So, you know, food for thought is choosing the right tip. Obviously, we've only got 12-inch paper here. If we choose a 7/12 tip, then, you know, we've got a 14-inch fan pattern. Sure, it's going to move quicker, but we're going to have overspray on things we don't want. And we're going to have a big line to cut here, you know, trying to cover white. So, you know, I like to use a 310. You can use a 410, 412, 210, but fine finish. Okay, the big thing with spraying is speed, pressure, and distance. So I can only do this knowing we're spraying white on white, right? So there's white here and white on the gutters. If we were doing the fascia, something like black, we wouldn't be able to do this, but I know by having the right tip, the right angle of my tip, and enough speed and distance, the correct speed and distance, I can spray the fascia without spraying the gutter. So I'll have it. Again, that does not work with a change in color, right? So blue fascia with white gutters, that will not work. And that will not work if you're new to spraying. You know, if you're new to spraying, what we'll have you do is physically mask the gutter or hand paint the fascia. But as you get better, you know, this is why your rate would go up and why you'd be able to be paid more, is because we can do things that maybe take a little bit more skill than you know, what we would normally do with someone starting out spraying. So again, first thing we did is we sprayed the body. We came back, sprayed the soffit, and you can see the line here of what we're now cutting in. So we're typically going to cut in, you know, 3 to 4 inches here. I'd say 4 to 6 inches to match this body color to the top here and get a straight line. We're going to, again, do it around things like the shutters, doors, anything else we've sprayed for this next step. Next thing we're going to talk about is what I have on me when I'm cutting here. First thing's going to be a 5-in-1. At the point I see failing paint that was missed, now that we're up close, if I see something on the wall I need to scrape off, I have my 5-in-1. I'm not looking for an opener when it comes to getting a paint can open. I can take screws out with it if there was a screw miss. The other thing is obviously we see here the shutters are nice and white. At the point I got any, you know, body paint on the shutter, I have a wet rag on me. I can quickly wipe it off. Mistakes happen, but we got to be preventative and just have those things on us while we're working. So at the point we are painting this entire house and we are also doing the floor, there is no need to mask this floor. You can see we've got clear overspray on this floor. So just to reiterate, floors will always be the last thing we paint. We'll use the example if we're doing everything at this house, right? We're doing the soffits, fascia, gutters, doors, walls. We'll start by cutting anything back. getting anything off of the walls that we need to, whether that's downspouts, whether that's signs. So we've cut everything back, gave ourselves a good safe work area. We've taken everything off that we need to take off. We'll now begin masking all the windows and anything else that we don't want overspray on. At that point, we can then cover floors, do any other little things that we may need to, pull rocks back, if that wasn't done when we were cutting the actual trees down. And then we begin painting. We begin painting the body first, so the stucco, whatever the main part of the house is, we paint that first, leaving the edge at the top, which we've since cut in. We then spray doors, soffits, fascia, anything of that nature. We come back, cut in around all the things you can see here clearly, right? Like this is, we sprayed the body, then we sprayed the door. There's clearly something here that needs to be cut. We'll cut the body. Once that's done, we can begin pulling paper, pulling plastic, anything of that nature, doing our punch outs, and lastly, we'll paint this floor. All right, so we've made it to the last day of the job. This is easily the most important part of the job, right? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna look at our House Call Pro app. Before we put any paintbrushes away, you know, we can clean up, we can put gutters on, we can pull tape, but we're not cleaning up our paintbrushes, our paint rollers, until we're absolutely certain we're done. And we're not certain we're done until we've gone in the House Call Pro app, we look at our job, and we walk down each line item, right? So, you know, we'll just use this for an example. Interior doors, I'm gonna count 18. Okay, we've got them. Ceilings, we've done the ceilings, and we're gonna walk through each line item and make sure everything is done. We can do that with paint in our hand, right? Like if we've done 2 colors, we have both paint colors in our hand and we're walking around and we're touching things up. So that's the first thing. We're gonna make sure that we've walked through. And the other thing is notes are added to House Call Pro every day. You know, for all the technician knows, the customers reached out to the office, they've asked to add something on, and you guys don't know that unless you're looking at House Call Pro. So that is the expectation, and there's truly no excuse not to be looking at House Call Pro every single day, and especially on the last day at the point where we're you know, going through our checklist. The next thing we'll do is we'll open up our handbook, right? So I can look at the table of contents. I know that there is an exterior wrap-up checklist, page 32 and 33. So we'll open up to page 32, 33. So here's our checklist. Prior to leaving any job site, the first thing, what did I say? Open House Call Pro app. Run through a checklist of everything we've done. Keep all colors out accessible with a paintbrush while walking the perimeter of the home, right? Anything we needs to, whether it's hoses, everything's put back exactly how we found it. You know, it is twice as expensive to send you guys back to touch things up as it is to take the extra 10, 15 minutes, walk around and touch things up. Is there overspray on anything? Do I need to get that off? Is there, you know, a place that maybe, you know, the paint hasn't fully covered in? You know, a lot of times when we'll spray the bottoms, what'll happen is because we didn't roll that, it hasn't fully covered, and you can't tell that till it's dry, right? And so this is why it's so important to follow the steps, because if you do, you know, the first coat and it looks great, well, that's fine, but you don't know that it hasn't covered until it's dry. So whether you think it did or not, you're going through these steps. Are the gates closed? You know, everything's away neatly in the trailer. Have we done our door hangers? The expectation is to walk through these checklists, leave the paint with the customer. All of this is done, we're taking pictures. All of this is done prior to us sending the invoice over, right? And so we're walking through House Call Pro, and then we're walking through our exterior wrap-up checklist. And only then can we send the invoice, okay? And with that being the expectation, if there was something that wasn't done and it was on House Call Pro, there's really no excuse for it. If there's paint that hasn't fully covered and we could have just touched it up, not only does that we lose the callback as far as like their probably not going to hire us again because we didn't, you know, give them a great finished product when we told them to, but we're also going to have to come back and fix it. And so these things are very important. The presentation, are the floors clean? All these things are written in this checklist, and that is the expectation prior to leaving a house. It's the most important day. Brush should last you a month and a half. At the point you go to wash it, you're going to use a bristle brush, soap, and a hard surface like the top of a can. You can use a paver block, making sure that wherever you clean it, you also water down that area so we aren't leaving paint. You do the same thing with your mini roller and your 9 or 18-inch roller. You're going to literally roll it in the water until clear water's coming out, and this roller can be used for another color. So let's prioritize keeping your brushes from getting dried out by either not covering it or not putting it in water.